Hi, everyone. It's Talya Pardo from Phoenix Rising. This is Soul Speak. Welcome, welcome. I'm so happy to have today Ana Patricia Bourgeois here with me. We met a few months ago. She's an intuitive business coach and podcaster. We met a few months ago at an incredible event for women in Calgary, and since then we've been in touch and trying to get connected. So we've really been looking forward to this conversation. I've been looking forward to this conversation. I think you're really going to enjoy it today. So, welcome, Ana Patricia. Thank you so much for being here today. Tell our audience a little bit about what you do, because I find that you have a really beautiful, unique way of combining energy and business. So, I want them to hear it from
Yeah.
you. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I am Anna, like you said. I'm an intuitive business coach and podcaster, and I help women in business really leverage their potential and use their power, use their voice, their story, their message to show up online and sell their programs and their products and really building a personal brand that's authentic to them. I also teach them how to start their podcast. Podcasting has been a huge, huge thing for me. I started back in 2020 and it's grown and grown like organically in such a beautiful way. And yeah, like my life has changed because of my show. Like it's been just an incredible journey of meeting women and growing. And yeah, I love it so much. And women always ask me, like, how can I start my own show? So I love to
Mhm.
give them tips and tricks and show them the way. And yeah, like energy and strategy, I love to combine both of those in my mentoring and my coaching because I feel like we're human beings. And if the energy is not there, then the strategy will be wobbly. And if there's no strategy and only energy, then we don't have like a straight path to follow. And it can get
Mhm.
confusing and overwhelming. So it's important to have both of those structures, and I love to support my clients in that for sure.
So, tell me what made you decide to start your podcast to begin with?
That's such a
And
good
like, how did your
question.
life change because of it?
Yeah. So when I graduated from university, I actually got my degree in communications.
Okay.
And since I was little, I was like, oh my gosh, like I want to be in front of the camera, I want to work in television or radio. And like I had the energy for it. And people told me,
Yeah.
like, oh, you would be so good at it. And then I did an internship in a big media conglomerate, Bell Media.
Oh, wow.
And I realized, oh my gosh, like this is very competitive and it's
Mhm.
you gotta have contacts to like get in and like go up. And like I was just like, you know what? Let me put this like on the back burner. Let me start my own business. And I started my digital marketing agency. I used to do like social media for clients and the scheduling, the calendars, the monitoring, the copywriting, like
Mhm.
all the stuff. And I liked it for a while, but then I realized I loved the one-on-one with my clients more. Like I love the personal development. I love to answer questions and see the growth. And that's when I went online. I'm like, how can I help people in a deeper way, like in a more meaningful way? And that's when I found coaching. Like I found this coaching school and I remember it was a big investment, but I was like, you know what? If I don't do this right now, it's never gonna get done.
Which coaching
Um,
school did you
it's called the Health Coach Institute.
okay.
So it's like a 6 months certification. It's accredited by the International Coaching Federation, and you have both the health and life coaching certifications.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so this is really where I learned all the modalities of coaching, and it was really interesting, and I loved it so much. And then it was really natural for me to marry my coaching
Mhm.
experience with my business experience and
Right.
be like, I'm gonna be a business coach. And then the intuitive came later when I was like, I'm a mystic, I'm a witch, like I can feel things, like I get those downloads, I see someone, I talk to someone, like I get the energy. And there's something really beautiful in that process as well. And I've incorporated it in my coaching. and it's been amazing. But to come back to the question of podcasting, right? I was in this mastermind once, and the coach was like, Anna, you should start a podcast. I was like, a podcast? What's that? So I was like so new to everything. And when I researched it, I was like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. It's like having your own radio show, and you're the host, and you make the rules, and you make the decisions. And it was so fun to be like, yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for all these years ago.
Yeah. It's a platform, right? It's a platform to share
Yeah,
who you are.
yeah.
And to be, like you said, it's you make the rules, you can be
Hmm.
uninhibited, you can, connect with people. That's,
Yeah,
it
exactly.
really taps into so much of that. That's why I love doing this show, is because it's also let me connect in with so many incredible people, hear different stories,
Yeah,
and do it in a way that I love, which is just
yeah,
conversation, right? Like, so
yeah,
yeah, yeah. And I think
exactly.
there's a need for that these days. Like, people are really looking
Mm,
for those, less formal interview style, and really they
yeah.
just want to see people interacting. I think because our interactions have really gone so virtual, and like people are so much more isolated, just to be around or to witness a genuine conversation that goes back and forth and exchanges ideas in a civil manner,
Hmm.
um, I think people really are missing that. They're lacking that, and they're looking for it. So,
Yes, it's like building that community of people who get you and they want
mm,
to grow with you and learn with
yeah,
you and share their own value.
yeah,
And it's such a beautiful exchange of knowledge and support. Um, and it's also incredible the power of like sharing from your heart, your
mm,
deepest, lessons, and people like reaching out and being like, "Oh my gosh, like thank you so much for doing this or sharing that and like how can I work with you?" Like it's such a beautiful organic way
yeah,
of showing the world who you are
yeah.
and the your tribe, the people who resonate, they gravitate towards you. And it's like when they say business can be so simple, this is what we talk about. Like,
Right.
yeah, you just gotta believe
It's
it can happen. Yeah.
such a different paradigm from like big corporations that are like faceless and nameless, right? You're just
Hmm.
connecting in with this brand. And they say branding, like I never connected in with branding, because all I would think about is like Nike or, whatever, Bell, or, it's like that has no personality to it, that has, it's just that's the name. And those are the products. But I've come to understand that in like art, in like soul business, I guess, like
Hmm.
it's branding. It's like a cold word for something that is actually very warm, right? Like, we're about sharing who we are, and allowing people to want to work with us, right? Like, that's what it
Mm,
is. You have to be really very clear on who you are before you can almost even do that. And 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 then that's what people will see. Like, if you're sharing yourself, it's
mhm.
you that are the attraction, right? That they want to work with you
Yeah.
because they trust you, because they share similar values, because they like what you're doing, or that, it's not so much about like what's your offer, or, like
Hmm.
it's really about like, who are you, and can I trust you and feel
Hmm.
safe to work with you in a vulnerable space? Because a lot of this coaching world puts people in a vulnerable space. You have to share who you are. You have to like share intimate things about yourself, and somebody has to want to trust you to share that with you. And
Hmm.
so it's such a different dynamic. Like, it's such a new
Yes.
world to live, new business world to explore in that way.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
And I would also say that as you show up, as you get visible, you also learn who you are. Like you don't need to
Yes.
have it all figured
Oh,
out.
oh yeah. Oh, yes.
But like as you go and do the stuff, and coach and
Mhm.
post and do all the things,
Mhm.
you get to learn so much about like who you are and what matters to you. And you get your views challenged a lot and you get different perspectives and you also grow. Like just being a podcast host, like you listen to so many stories and you're just like, wow, I never thought about it that way or seen it that way. Like
Yeah.
I've grown so much as a person just doing these interviews and meeting these women. Like it's just mind blowing, you know? And it's also like when you share about yourself, you also learn to be comfortable with being vulnerable.
Hmm.
And I know it can be scary. And I know when you first start, you're like, oh my gosh, like who am I to do this type of work? Who am I to like share? Like, are people
Yeah.
really gonna listen? And like, and you can have all these fears and all these doubts, but I want to remind you that, we all have a special, unique story. And there's something in your story that will inspire someone else.
That's right.
And maybe because it seems insignificant or small to us, it is big for someone else, to be like, oh my gosh, yes, there's someone who gets me. There's
Mhm.
someone who's been through it and I can connect with this person and, create this beautiful relationship. So never ever for a second doubt that your story is not powerful.
Mhm.
Like, I know this is a lot of where we started in the beginning and a lot of what people tell me, like, Anna, are you sure I should do this? And they doubt themselves. And I'm like, yes, you should. Like, I guarantee there's people out there. Like, we're billions of people on this planet.
That's
Like,
right.
there's people out there who will resonate for sure.
Yeah, and that so speaks to the journey of the entrepreneur itself these
Yeah.
days. Like you said, it's not about getting it all in order before you start. It really is. And like I've experienced that myself in the last 2.5 years of learning and growing so much as a person
Hmm.
while I'm learning how to be, like it's what you teach, right? Like it
Hmm.
seems like you've got all of the like the strategy and the skills, which are very important.
Yeah.
And there's the personal journey as you're doing it. So you need to know how to post and how to market and make an email campaign and blah, 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 right? And do all of your graphics or whatever. But you also need to know like who you are, and you also need to be ready to share that. And like I know in the beginning, a lot of what I was sharing about myself was it wasn't that it wasn't authentic. I was just very vague because I
Hmm.
wasn't ready to be so vulnerable and really share like
Mm.
right? Like, and so I felt that, but I didn't know how to take that next step until I spend more time growing and being ready to be more vulnerable with my fault, like with the people I interact with, and be like, no, I'm going to take that next step and be more in depth because that way you'll really see who I am. And I've seen such a shift in my business because of that, because like you said, like then they really can see you, and there's always someone out there who's going to resonate
Hmm.
with your story. And that's the other point I wanted to comment on about what you were saying is it really makes, I am assuming, like I'm sure the clients that you work with in business face those limiting beliefs, right? Like
Hmm.
it's not like my story is insignificant. Well, why would you think that? Like, right? You have to then address like your own feelings of self-worth, right?
Hmm.
And are you good enough and all of that, and who am I? Kind of answer all of those questions to be ready to take the next step into like, no, my story is important and somebody's going to enjoy it, right? Because it is important. I'm
Yes,
important.
exactly. And honestly, most of what I've seen with clients, it's a self-worth thing.
Mm,
Like,
yeah.
I am enough. Like, you gotta believe you are enough. You gotta believe that anything is possible. And I think that's the biggest, most challenging thing to do sometimes because you don't necessarily always see the results that you wanted to see. You
Right.
don't always get to the top of the mountain. You don't always climb the highest heights,
Yeah.
right? And then you start to doubt, but then you got to come back to that self-worth place of being like, this is just a detour. This is just a bump in the road. Like, I know I got this. And I'm telling you, like, being your own cheerleader is like 99% of like being an entrepreneur.
Yep. Oh, 100%. It's 1,000,000%. That's exactly what it's all about. Because not everything, like not every program that you launch is going to be
Hmm.
successful, and not everybody's going to notice your posts or the things that you're selling or you're offering
Hmm.
or your services. And you still have to keep going and not
Hmm.
say like, okay, well, nobody signed up for this program, so like might as well forget it. Because if that happened, then like I probably 80% of the coaches, in the world would be out. Right.
Hmm.
Like, so it's about, you got to keep trying and learn from it and like, okay, well, what can I change about that? Or what can I do differently with
Hmm.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of testing. It's a
Yeah.
lot of like, okay, this is what I did.
Yeah.
What worked? What didn't work? What can I tweak?
Yeah.
It's a lot of like back and forth.
Yeah.
And if you're not ready for that,
Yeah.
then you're not ready for
No,
it.
because it's like personal coaching, right? You have to be ready to
Yeah.
answer those brutal questions of
Yeah.
like, much as I wanted to do it this way, well, maybe
Mhm.
that's not what is appealing to people, or maybe
Mhm.
there's a language that you use that isn't so, attractive, or
Mhm.
there's something, and like we hate to ignore, like we hate to address that sometimes because like we just want to, like you said, like no structure, like I just want to be the energy and I just want to do it. But like there does still have to be some kind of strategy around it and understanding of like, okay, but how can I adjust, or how can I shift this?
Mhm.
Because to try to do it the same way over and over, even if it's your genuine energy and if it's not working,
Mhm.
there has to be some reflection, right? And acknowledgement of like, we can do this differently.
I have the perfect example for
Go
this.
for it. Go for it.
I had like a discovery call last week with this woman, and she said like, I want to launch an online course. How do I do it? I'm
Mm.
like, okay, let's talk about it. I'm like, okay, so do you have Instagram? Do you have Facebook? Like, where are you gonna promote? And she's like, oh no, I don't do social media. So then I'm like, okay, so you want to launch an
Okay.
online course, but you don't do so.
Okay, that was probably a good one for you.
I was like, interesting. Okay, so how did
Mhm.
you, think you could promote this online?
Yeah, how were you planning to get it out there?
Yeah. And she's like, oh, ads or something like that. I'm like, yo,
Mhm.
ads, really? That's your
Mhm.
And it's like I respect it. Yeah, like if you don't want to do social media, it's fine. It's just gonna take you way longer to reach your goal of selling that online course, right? Because
Yeah,
it goes hand in hand,
right.
right? If you want to sell an online course, it just makes sense to have an online presence
Yeah.
so you can funnel people to your course.
Right. And
But
it's also about being aware of the strategy and the structure, like being up to date
mhm,
and being in the like you don't have to be fully on it,
mhm,
everything. You don't have to be on TikTok and LinkedIn and all that, but you do have to go where people are. Right? Like you can set
exactly.
up your lemonade stand in the middle of a field, or you can set up your lemonade stand outside the mall where people are coming and going. Like,
Mhm,
right? Like it's about that's where the strategy is. What are you trying to really accomplish with what you're
mhm.
trying to do?
Hmm. And don't get me wrong, like I know a lot of six-figure, seven-figure entrepreneurs who don't have a big social media presence,
Yep.
but they still started somewhere, they still
Yeah.
have some type of presence.
Yeah.
But it's all about like your network and who you know and how willing you are to put yourself in those rooms to meet more people and
Yeah.
form relationships. And like,
Yeah.
if you're not willing to do it online, do it offline in a
Yep.
way that's intentional.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways to go about it.
Yeah.
As long as like you said, you keep going, you show up powerfully, authentically. Um, I think that's really what matters. And it's also looking at why don't you want to do it online? Like when people
Mm.
say to me like, "Oh, I don't have
That's a
social
good
media. I don't do social media." Like, okay, but what's the deeper issue here? Like,
Where's
what
the
are you
resistance?
afraid of? Yeah, yeah. What's the resistance, like you said? And sometimes like it goes back to self-worth and I'm not good enough, or a visibility like
Mm.
wound. Like maybe when you were little, it was like hard for you to be yourself, or maybe you got reprimanded, or like
Mm. Yeah.
something happened for sure, and you have this already preconceived idea that it's not safe
Yeah.
to show up, so it
Yeah.
goes
Well, it's, like I spent 16 years working for someone,
yeah.
right? And then stepping into the entrepreneur space, it really is like, it really is so intertwined with the
Hmm.
personal journey. Like there's
Hmm.
no doing one without the other. There's no entrepreneur without the
Hmm.
personal journey itself. It's just, it can't be because it leads you to all of these
Hmm.
moments of incredible growth. So we've talked about like strategies, we've talked about how like approaching, how to like approach entrepreneurship, but I'd love to talk to you about like feminine energy and intuition and how you tie that in to your business. Because for me personally, I've done like I'm very, very interested in the feminine, masculine energy.
Mhm.
There's so much to understand there, and there's so much that explains, like, helps you understand yourself. And so I love to have those conversations. So like, tell me how you see it connecting with business and how you coach your clients.
I love that
Because feminine
question.
energy is so different from masculine energy, right? Like, so yeah.
I love that question. So for me personally, all my life, I've been in my masculine. Like
Mhm.
I didn't have a choice because when I was younger, at 15 years old, my parent got a divorce
Mm.
and my father left, and I was going to school full time. I had two part-time jobs. I was helping my mom, paying the bills. And we were
Wow.
really in survival mode,
Yeah.
at such a young age.
Yeah.
And that's what I've learned. It's like to be hyper independent and to
Mhm.
figure your own stuff out and to have your own money and to
Mhm.
work hard, So that wound was carried through in my entrepreneurship journey at the beginning. Like
Sure.
I was 24 hours glued to my computer and like doing all the things and showing up and going live and sending the emails and posting the content. Like I was on, doing. And obviously it brought results. Like I had my first 10K months, like I
Wow.
was on top of the world. Like I was crushing it. And obviously
Mm.
it all came crashing.
Sure. You can only maintain that for so long. Yeah.
Exactly. I burned out really badly. And I was like, okay, this isn't working.
Mm.
I gotta figure out a way to balance it all. Because if you don't have a balance, like a healthy balance, and
Yep.
if you're just working, your body is gonna tell it to you one way or
Especially for women.
yeah,
Especially for women, because our adrenal system, like biologically, our adrenal system works differently than men's.
exactly. Exactly. So I had to take a step back, right? I was like, okay, this is not working. What can I do to balance it all? And this is where I truly started being more intentional with taking more breaks in between
Mm.
calls, with completely shutting down and during the weekends, like not even looking at my phone, like
Good for you.
just deleting the apps. Like you gotta be able to separate the online and also be able to live your life,
Yep.
you know? So it's really like setting those boundaries, those like and telling like I'm not answering Voxer, I'm not doing stuff on the weekends, I'm recharging my batteries. And it's also for me, it was also really spiritual in the sense of like taking the time to connect with my spirit guides, my angels, my ancestors, having that little routine and sitting down and meditating and burning some Palo Santo and asking for guidance and pulling some oracle cards and like just really coming in the present moment.
Mm.
Ah, it felt so good to like, wow, I'm truly am supported. And like that really recharged me. And also like moving my body and exercising and doing yoga and like really coming back to the basics.
Yep.
Like all those little things really started to add up. And I'm like, okay, now I got a solid routine. The first thing in the morning, I pour into myself first. I charge my batteries first. I am powered to source first. Then I'm doing stuff when I feel that my energy field
Yeah.
is on point, right? And it looks different every single day. Like some days, honestly, we're women. Like we have cycles too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So also started working on my cycle. Anyways, all those little things that I've done made all the difference with balancing the doing with the being and the receiving and the feminine.
Tapping into, well, that's it. The feminine is all about receiving and creating and being
Mhm,
and less doing, doing, doing. And we need that recharge time. And for us, like, so men recharge at night, like their adrenal systems recharge overnight when they sleep. That
mhm,
doesn't work for us. Our bodies recharge, our women's bodies recharge when we rest, like true rest, which is very different, right? So like we
mhm,
just need to slow things down, which is exactly what you did. And you gave yourself a much more well-rounded connections, right? You connected back in with yourself, you got your body moving, you coached yourself. Right.
mhm,
That's kind of what it really sounds like. You like
mhm,
you therapeuted, what's the word? Therapize you coached yourself, right? Like you gave it to yourself and
yeah.
you did it for yourself, which is beautiful because your intuition led you there, right? And you were able to hear
Mhm,
it and tap in.
mhm,
And that's what's so important, especially when we're entrepreneurs or working for ourselves.
mhm,
There's no real business hours for any of us, right? Like it's kind of around the clock. And because it's all on virtual or mobile, you're on your phone, like you can access it anytime. So it really has to be like a self-imposed
mhm,
structure. And that's not always easy for everybody to do, right? Like because we want to make our business work and we want to get ahead and we want to, fulfill our vision and all of that. But like you said, like you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't keep going when you're going on fumes and there's nothing left, right? Like then it'll
mhm.
all fall apart, everything you've worked hard to build up until that point. So
Exactly.
when you're working with your clients, like how much of your work kind of focuses in on the skills and the strategy and the tangible, like how many emails and here's how I create an email on MailChimp and I mean, like these are all things I've had to learn too, right? Like, and it's the nitty gritty, the real part of it, right? Like the hands-on part, I guess. The hands-on part is what I'm trying to say.
Mhm,
And then there's like the person who does all of that. So like how much of your
mhm,
coaching focuses on teaching them like specific skills and tasks and how much
mhm,
focuses in on like really coaching them to connect in with themselves and
mm,
to like be in their feminine and authentic,
mhm.
their authentic selves.
I love that question. I feel like it's so different from client to client because everyone is different.
Yeah.
Everyone is at different point in their journeys. My clients, they know who they are. They know they're really good at what they do. And they have so many ideas, so many, I've had this client, she had like a workbook that was like 200 pages long on Canva. And she's like, Anna, I want to have more passive income, right?
Mm.
So we dissected her whole workbook into six
Wow.
different like workbooks so
Wow.
she could sell them separately or
Right.
bundle them. So
Right.
like my
That's
mind
smart.
works in a way that's like, how can we simplify everything
Mm-hmm.
and make it fun for your clients to like,
Yeah.
because people love to have options,
Yes.
right? So how can we make it fun? How can we diversify your product suite so you
Yeah.
can make more passive income? Because this is what I've learned through my journey, right? Of doing, 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 doing. It's like you don't always have to live launch. You don't always have to do live programs. You don't always have to like give your energy. You can also create digital products that will sell you know? So it's really looking at your product suite and being really intentional with it and looking at what your values are, how much time you want to spend working.
Mhm.
But obviously, at the beginning, it's going to take effort to set everything up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. But with her, she was like, wow, I never thought of doing it that way. And I'm really good at giving a lot of ideas. And
Mm.
we bounce back and forth and decide, okay, this makes more sense. Let's go this route. And she's like, okay, but how do I? So I also like said to her, maybe you could do like a master class and you can
Mm.
like upsell like into your signature program and then talk about your workbooks,
Mm.
right? We got to have like
Yeah.
point of entries. And we
Yeah.
gotta have because not everyone is ready for like a high level investment.
That's
So
right.
your workbooks are perfect,
Yeah.
for those smaller ticket items. So it's really like I'm really good at looking at it like in a whole holistic way. like the
Right.
big picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
And obviously it gets overwhelming because you're like, oh my gosh, I got to do all of this now. And this is where the feminine intuitive work comes in. It's like, remove the pressure of doing it all now,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And take it one day at a time, one step at a time. Look at your energy levels. Where are you at? Do you have to tap in
Yeah.
into your own energy field and do some breath work or yoga? Like what will
Mhm.
like recharge you today so you can take one step further into that, journey. So it's like that balance. I always like tell them like message me like how are you feeling and like we're gonna
Mm.
work it through together. Like you're not alone. And that's the other thing. Most entrepreneur, like they wait a long time before getting help and support. And they're
Mm.
so used to doing it all alone. You
Yep.
gotta like remind them, hey, I'm here. Like, what's going on? Like,
Yeah.
and yeah, I could talk about this forever, but like I really love to be that support system and to bounce ideas. And if you tell me, Anna, this is my vision, then I'm like, okay, maybe we could do this way or that way. So I give you like different options and you decide what feels best for you.
Well, it sounds like you're very hands-on for your clients too.
Mhm.
Like there are some coaches where they can do a session with you and then like there's nothing
Yeah.
for until your next session the next month or whatever, right? And you're kind of left to meander or flow by yourself. And I think there's really like that also is what I see. Um, I see that in a lot of newer coaches, but in
Mhm.
like in the last couple of years where coaching is evolving into being a more ongoing support where like
Mhm.
coaches will offer texting support during the week, right?
Mhm.
Or like, you can reach out or like it's not like this, like this is our appointment, this is when I talk to you, and like you're overstepping your bounds if you try to communicate with me outside of that, right? Like, and that used to be the paradigm, right? That used to be how it worked in a lot of coaching the coaching industry, even like or therapy or whatever, like whatever the focus was, it was
Mhm.
like you respect my time and that's what it is. And I think it's evolving as we're all evolving and as the entrepreneurship is evolving,
Mhm.
as we're realizing that like coaching is really, it's such a powerful relationship, and support is not just an hour a month or an hour a week, right? Like
Mhm.
so yes, of course you don't want to be taken advantage of for your time, and we build in things that make it and ensure the value for the coach as well, right? But at the same time, more coaches are opening themselves up to being more available to guide their clients in
Yeah.
between the bigger
Yeah.
support moments.
Yeah, but for me, it's more like if you pay for high level one-on-one coaching, you're gonna get high level one-on-one
Right.
support.
That right. But that's it, right? Like, and
Yeah.
that's why there are those varying degrees, right? That people are
Hmm.
realizing that are really available. And I think that's fantastic because people need that. Like I
Yeah.
think people really need that hands-on, much more directed, and like with business, you know, it's good to have somebody to bounce things off of or to brainstorm
Hmm.
with, right? Like it's very hard to just sit and go like, okay, I'm going to come up with ideas. Most people need to talk, like to think in order to think we need to talk. And so to have someone with
Yeah.
experience and with knowledge, to have that person to talk it out with,
Hmm.
that's
Exactly.
that's a
Because when you're so in it, you don't necessarily see the big picture. So I'm really good at helping you zoom out
yeah,
and being like, hey, there's this right here, or that we could do. And
yeah,
like, oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't see it that way. So it's
yeah.
really fun to see their eyes light up and be like, oh, that's so cool. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I love your energy. Like I have to give you, first of all, so much credit. I'm so enjoyed listening to your story, but also so amazed at how young you are and how you kind of came out of the gate really ready to do something like this. It takes a lot of courage. I give you a lot of credit for that. It takes a lot of courage to say like I'm going to go out on my own to do this. Sorry, my throat is dry. And really that you've built up such an incredible business and you're so knowledgeable and helping so many people. Like
Mhm.
it's really incredible to me. I'm very impressed. So
Thank
I'm
you
really
so
enjoying
much.
listening to you, and your energy just makes me want to listen to you more. Like it just makes me want to keep like, tell me more, tell me more. So tell me about like what's one of your biggest like when a client like that you've worked with that you're really so was the biggest turnaround, like came to you in
Mm,
one kind of state, either emotionally or business wise, and had their own biggest like flip around 180 and like did things they never imagined they could do?
oh my gosh, there's so many. Um, there's two that comes to mind. The first one is my client Hannah. Like oh my gosh, she was like, Anna, I want to leave my job. I hate my boss. Like, I don't want to do this any longer. Like, please help me get clients. And we worked on refreshing her product suite
Mm,
and pricing it accordingly.
mhm,
We worked on her messaging, how she's gonna like promote her programs. She started showing up more intentionally, more like consistently as well.
mm.
And I think it took like 60 days, and she already signed like three high-level packages.
Wow.
So she could already leave her job. And she was like, what? Like I should have hired you. She was just mind
Holy
blown.
cow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then this other client, she was so afraid to go live. Like
Mm,
she had this idea that people would have judged her or say mean things about her.
mm,
And she was really, really afraid. But we talked it through. I got to know her better and her story, and I helped her, have a line to follow when she went live. So
mm,
she's like, how can I share my story in a way that not only is inspiring, but people feel that they can resonate and they actually want to reach out and see how
mm,
they can work with me. So we worked on that. I told her like my three steps for that. She applied it right away. She was really nervous, but she did go live.
mm,
And I kid you not, on that live stream, she had like 200 comments, 20 shares, like it was just insane. And her inbox was like flowing in with messages. And she's like, wow. Like I was so afraid, but
mm,
I'm so glad that I pushed through the fear and
mm,
actually shared my story because she's a postpartum like
mm.
coach.
Okay.
So all these other moms, they were like, thank God you're here. Like I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Like I need your help. Like, and I get chills when I think about it because each time you push through that fear, through that resistance,
Mm.
there's a domino effect that happens.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Because when you
Yeah.
are brave, when you show up powerfully, you impact so many other people in your field, in your audience, and like you transfer your confidence and your bravery to those people, and then they reach out and they invest in themselves to change their own lives, and then they inspire other people. So it's like a domino effect.
Oh, yep.
So next time you're afraid to do something and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is nerve-wracking, I don't know, and you start to doubt, remember that when you take that scary step, you're going to impact so many people. And you're not even going to realize it at first. It's going to feel small, right? But the more you do it, one step at a time, one day at a time, you're going to start to see the domino effect happen.
Yeah.
And you're going to be mind blown.
Yeah, and it because we think we know what everybody thinks about us because we're busy judging ourselves, right?
Hmm.
But if we let go of that self-judgment that's holding us back, we really don't know. And you don't know the person that you're gonna,
Mm-mm.
tap into. And it's usually the people who are like not even necessarily engaging with you who
Mm-mm.
end up being the people who reach out and say, like, you know what, that really spoke to me. And you're like, oh, I didn't know you even saw that post, right? Like, were you following me? I had no idea. Who are you? Right. And they're like, oh no, I've been watching you for like 6 months, right? So it's often those people that are holding themselves back who you're speaking the most to in a way. Yeah, yeah.
This is
Never underestimate the impact you can have.
never, ever.
Yeah.
Like, this is so true. Like, I've had people out of the blue reach out, and I've had this client. She was like seeing all my stuff, I think for a year and a half
Wow.
or 2 years.
Yeah.
And then she reached out and she signed up for my highest level, like on my newest highest level pricing. So it's just mind blowing that, you just never know who's
Mhm.
watching. And I call them the silent lurkers.
The lurking has such like this, I don't know, it has this connotate, it has this like feeling to it where it can be like,
Yeah,
yeah, they're not like they're lurking, but like I want to put like a more positive spin to that word
yeah,
sometimes,
yeah,
like
yeah, for
they're
sure.
observers. Let's say that. Observing,
Observers.
silent observer.
Yeah,
Yeah, silent.
yeah. And they're always there and
Yeah,
they're this close to sending you a DM.
yeah, yeah,
So if you're feeling down, if you're like, this online thing is not working, I guarantee you, people are watching.
yeah. There are people watching, and it's when you really step into yourself that's what puts them into a
Mm,
different space. Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Well, and I have no doubt that people are successful working with you because just this last, like, I don't know what it's been, 45 minutes talking to you, I feel your energy so powerfully, and I can tell how authentically you show up, and that's what resonates with people. So like I really love this conversation. Unfortunately, we're gonna start to say goodbye, but before we do that, do you have like any last things that you want to share with our audience about what you do and like something that they can walk away with, maybe hold on to?
Mm, I would say, to always, always come back to your vision,
Mm,
right? Why did you start this? Why is this important to you?
mm,
Like, what is the impact you want to create? And like sometimes we're so like in it that we forget like why
yeah.
we even started. So the more you can reconnect to that why and
Mm,
that, oh my gosh, like you gotta feel it. You gotta feel the goosebumps. You gotta feel, oh my gosh, yes, this is why I'm doing this. And
yeah.
it's so powerful. Like the more you can connect to that feeling, the more it's gonna help you when times get rough or when things don't go your way. It's gonna help carry you through the muck, you know? And think about all the people you've already helped and go make an album of all your testimonials, all the positive comments you've got.
Mm.
Read those words, feel into it, and feel how powerful you are. And never forget it.
Beautiful. That's true. Let's remember what Anna says. So, where can our audience find you, reach you? Because I know that I'm sure, I've no doubt that so many of them want to connect with you after this conversation. So, where can they find you?
Yeah, for sure. So the first place to go is my podcast, the
Hmm.
Powerful Female Leaders Podcast. This is really like my baby project. And you're gonna love the conversations on there. So you can go like on Spotify, Apple Music, like the all the biggest platforms. I also have my free Facebook group community, the Powerful Female
Mm.
Coaches and Leaders community. We host Power Hour connection calls every month. You can come, network, meet new amazing women entrepreneurs. I also have a full library of free trainings in there, like around mindset, personal branding, social media, sales, storytelling, all the good stuff. And yeah, you can come follow me on Instagram at anapatricia.coach. Send me a DM, say hi, tell me you listened to this episode, let me know what you've liked. Yeah, this is pretty much it.
Good. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you so much, Anna, for this conversation. We are going to do this again. We're going to be in touch and in contact. And I just think you're amazing. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for this conversation today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.